For instance, I would match with someone on a dating app, and before a conversation even started, there'll be a picture of their genitals in my inbox. It was intrusive and a little violating, but I got used to it. I told myself it wasn't a big deal, and I never reported any of it. I never thought of myself as a victim of harassment, at least not in a way that you read about in news articles or research studies. But looking back, I realized that there were moments, small, seemingly inconsequential ones at the time, that chipped away at my comfort, making me question what I should tolerate and what I shouldn't. For instance, I would match with someone on a dating app, and before a conversation even started, there'll be a picture of their genitals in my inbox. It was intrusive and a little violating, but I got used to it. I told myself it wasn't a big deal, and I never reported any of it. I didn't see it as serious enough. It wasn't violent. It wasn't abuse. I didn't want to make things awkward with people I still had to interact with. So I ignored it. I let it slide.
It's really odd because in the physical world, someone who flashed themselves at us, we immediately scream or let out a yell, a shout, and call for help, or at least report that person. And yet when it happens online, this cyber flashing seems to elicit a different response. It's almost like even the victim who is on the receiving end of these kinds of unwanted content feels a sense of hesitation, like they shouldn't be feeling offended by it or upset by it.
I think it's because of the norms that we associate with being a victim survivor. So there are obviously gender norms. So it's very much, and it still is, that the majority of the victim survivors tend to be women. And so when men experience it, they get shocked. But the truth is anybody can be a victim of online sexual harms. And in this story, the victim survivor is coming to terms with experiencing online harassment. And they, as a result, they may have brushed off their discomfort. They may have downplayed and say, oh, you know, it's no big deal. And then maybe they're thinking, oh, I'm overanalyzing or thinking too much. So they try to sort of persuade themselves that actually it's not a big deal.
What could a victim do in these kind of circumstances?
So there are options to report.
To the platform?
To the platforms, yes. But I guess if I were to choose a kind of advice, I would say that maybe everybody should equip themselves, should educate themselves about such harms, because you never know when you will be at the receiving end of it. The more you know about online sexual harms, whether it's the ways in which it manifests, why it manifests, how other victim survivors has dealt with it, as well as what available support and legal options that you have. The more you know, the better it is for you.
In the previous episode, we had talked about how the setting up of a new online safety commission could help to speed up the removal of this kind of content. But there's something else that the research is telling us too, that there is a desire on the part of the victim to know who the perpetrator is. And online, sometimes anonymity is a problem. You don't know who the perpetrator is, and you can't necessarily take action against the perpetrator. So is that sort of knowledge helpful to victims being able to achieve closure?
Yes, I think in one way it could be. It may not be the be-all and end-all, but one way to help put, at least the victim survivors to peace is that at least they know, okay, this is the perpetrator, they were caught, they were punished, and then the content was taken down, and maybe that will help them have a peace of mind.
In terms of accountability, in the physical world, we know that if we punch someone, or if we stole something, or if we inflicted pain on someone, there will be a time that we need to answer for it. And that shapes our behavior. We think about what is the norms of good behavior in society. And going online, it seems that these inhibitions have disappeared because you can hide behind a veil of anonymity. Now, for most people, this anonymity is okay. We are just going online to perhaps, express a harmless point of view or to share content that could be entertaining to others. But when these kinds of expressions in fact, inflict harm upon someone else, then the rules should enable the veil of anonymity to be lifted so that the victims could seek recourse. This is one of a series of measures that we hope to take to ensure that the online space is safer and not so different from the kind of safety that we are able to experience in the physical world. Well, Michelle, thank you very much for sharing with us these stories. They may be composite in order to protect the victim's anonymity, but we know that they are real.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
#Unfiltered is really not an easy series to watch. But we hope that by sharing these victim stories, we are able to shed light on the kind of support that will be needed for all of us to feel safer in the online space. It's also a reminder of how important it is for the government to work with partners like CASMIDA, like SG Her Empowerment, and other organizations in the community in order to create better support for victims as well as promote a safer online space.